Where did they get this Max Verstappen fella from? Where? He's not of this earth, an alien. And again, we've spoken ad infinitum, almost ad nauseum now, about his multitudinous talents behind the wheel, his ability to manipulate the car on and around the limits of adhesion. He's pant-wettingly fast, but above all, what springs off the page when you're talking about Maximilian Verstappen's not insubstantial range of talents behind the car. It's not the sensitivity of his internal gyroscope, nor the feedback when he drives over a crisp bracket that he can tell you not only the brand but the flavour. Those are all good things, nice to have. But what separates Max Verstappen isn't the fact that he's painting with oils that the rest are painting with primary colours, not the length and breadth of his palette. The difference, chat, between the very good and the very great is his almost metronomic ability to deliver in the peakiest of peak circumstances. It's Q3, it's round 24, it's for all the marbles, and Maximilian Verstappen, with a fresh set of red labelled soft compound tyre spares, goes and puts in a 122.2. 2/10 on a Lando Norris, a fire-breathing Lando Norris with Weetabix had, with the wind beneath his sails, in an MCL 39, no less. A car which should be brilliant at Abu Dhabi. We saw how they went this time last year. RB21 isn't perfect. Yeah, they improved the setup over the course of the sessions. Yeah, they've got it turning in more. Yeah, it's not too bad around the short, low minimum speed corners, so characterised by Sector 3 around Abu Dhabi. But nobody's going to argue with a straight face that MCL 39 is not the quickest car. Max Verstappen does what we saw him just then, a 22.2, despite the multitudinous foibles of the aerodynamic variety of the RB21. It doesn't matter. This dude is playing a different game now. Again, metronomic in his ability to execute in the peakiest of peak times when it matters most. Now, will it be enough going into the Grand Prix tomorrow? Well, we're going to have that conversation, ain't we? Because there are various permutations and eventualities. What we're looking at, chat, is 2016 all over again. But this time, it's not Lewis Hamilton trying to back up his teammate. It's Max Verstappen trying to back up Lando Norris, the only other protagonist potentially in the championship that can win it. He's going to back them up, isn't he? He's going to be super aggressive with it as well. He might be, chat. Said he's going all out in the presser to nail himself and consolidate for P1. That's not a question, but we're talking about strategy here on in, aren't we? Can Yuki Tsunoda throw his hat into the arena? Can George Russell do what he failed to do in Q3 and keep his nose clean on the final lap? By the way, Lando's super lucky. Again, not a bad lap from Lando, and he deserves credit. Of course he does. Listen, the circumstances super pressurised. I didn't think he's going to be able to get. I didn't think he was going to be able to get the 22.4. I didn't think he had it in him. But again, he makes me sit down. Take 2 seats, Lando Norris says. Cameron, I will see you that and raise you this. And he delivers, kind of. He said already that he wanted to nail P1. Didn't get it though. He didn't get the P1, did he? He got P2. Not as good through Sector 3 as expected. I think Lando Norris was safety settings, risk management settings. What he couldn't do is make a mistake in Q3. That's what he couldn't do. But there were mistakes aplenty as per usual. Errors of the unforced variety. A litany of them as far as Lando Norris is concerned. Race weekend to date. That's why he didn't have an extra set of softs to combat Max Verstappen on equal terms in Q3, because there were mistakes in Q1, and therein lies the difference yet again, chat. The rest of they're painting with waters, where Max Verstappen is painting with oils. They are painting with primary colours, whereas Maximilian Verstappen's F1 paddling palette is almost infinite at this stage. You can see the difference. Earlier on, Lando Norris in FP2, leaving 0 crumbs on the table, utilising all of the track limits, rolling the track limit infringement dice. Where was that in Q3? Nowhere to be seen. It's as if Maximilian Verstappen inverted positions You can copy paste the bloody screenshot that we went through earlier when Lando Norris was leaving 0 tenths on the table and superimpose that onto Maximilian Verstappen in Q3. I say all of that to say this. There is not a driver in the world racing F1 of the current 20 that can do what this dude does as frequently and as routinely as this dude does it, making the impossible look almost routine, converting of skeptics into believers. Let's talk about Oscar Piastri very quickly. 7 out of 10, maybe. But again, you wouldn't expect Oscar Piastri to go well or better than his teammate around this track, would you? Abu Dhabi. Again, there are too many rear limited turns, particularly sector 2, sector 3, 90-degree Rascask-esque ones around which Lando Norris will always fare better. More adept is he at sliding the car. More adept is he at heating up the rears and looking after the rears. More aggressive is Lando Norris on the brakes, and so loading the front with a view to get the car turned in. You wouldn't expect Oscar J. Piastri, but again, what does he do tomorrow? He's got to go hard. And again, I think the championship might rest in Oscar Piastri's hands. Chat, I'm being honest here. If he gets the team orders, what does he do? Bearing in mind Qatar disqualification settings after the light, what would you do if you were Oscar Piastri and you got the command to let Lando Norris through? What happens at the start? Lest we forget last year, it got techie, didn't it? Cheeky love kiss between Maximilian Verstappen and Oscar Piastri going into turn 1. It is all to play for with a fire-breathing dragon in King George Russell starting in P4. And if King George wasn't enough behind him, who is there? Charles Leclerc and Fernando El Plan Alonso. Both of whom are bloody, they will never leave a tenth of advantage or position on the table. George Russell's already told us, if you think this isn't techie, chat, tomorrow people will fight tooth and nail. This is the point, Robert, and you're far too kind. George Russell already said he's not going to treat it like it's the Drivers' Championship. He won't wear the Toto, the boy who cried wolf cap. He said, as team principal of Mercedes, that this isn't our fight. We won't get involved. Leave it to them. Well, you want to tell that to George Toto, because George said words to this effect: I'm going to treat it as any other race. I'm not going to take any risk that I wouldn't ordinarily, but I'm going to go for a race win, because George Russell is a killer. And when you have a fire-breathing dragon like that in and around a driver championship circumstance, then it is going to get techie. And then you realise that Alonso's in 6th. Oh, the humanity. Listen, if I were Lando Norris, I would not sleep very well tonight. He's been dreaming of this moment. It's right there within his hands. But Lando has exhibited over the past couple of races a penchant for seizing defeat from the jaws of victory. There is a line in Rudyard Kipling's if you can make one heap of all your winnings and risk it on one turn of pitch and toss, then you will be a man, my friend. And Lando Norris needs to live up to that line, because this is for all the marbles. Pressurised circumstance, and he needs to deliver if indeed he harbours aspirations of winning his maiden voyage, his very first championship of the drivers' variety in the race 24, Abu Dhabi tomorrow. Oh, and by the way, to put a negative spin on this, Sir Lewis Hamilton, what's going on, chat? I almost don't want to talk about it, to be honest. I don't have the emotional bandwidth to talk about Lewis Hamilton in the post-race scrum, talking about how horrendous it is, how his inner rage is struggling to keep it inside of him. I almost don't want to talk about it. Here's hoping that Lewis Hamilton can come back in 2026, because it's not a good look. We are talking now about a tainted legacy in real time, a sport retiring a driver rather than a driver retiring from a sport. Nobody, Lewis Hamilton fans, stands evangelists and Cole RH or Lewis Hamilton naysayers, want to see, if there is an ounce of humanity in your body, want to see a 7-time champion in Sir Lewis Carl Davidson like that. With that negativity, that type of countenance, it's not a good look for him, nor is it a good look for the red car with a yellow badge and black pants in Corsa top. $70 million is how much they're paying Sir Lewis Hamilton, brand Lewis Hamilton, for that extent of underperformance. It is chaos. We'll be back T-minus 60 minutes before lights out tomorrow. What are we doing then?